Do you know what's cool? Reading books. Do you know what's even cooler? Loving reading so much, it takes you from stealing books to building libraries to shaping nations. That's cooler. Benjamin Franklin was a man before his time. What he achieved in a lifetime could literally fill a room. Hey, what's over there? Oh, that room, dude? That's just Benjamin Franklin, like everything he did and what he achieved in his lifetime. Okay, cool. Wait, all of it? Yeah. All of it. Franklin was the poster boy of the American Enlightenment. Born as the 10th and last son of his father Josiah, he had that dog in him. Franklin wasn't born a genius like Newton or Einstein. He became exceptional by being curious, observing the world around him, reading, writing, and asking a lot of questions. Franklin finished school at 10. That was actually pretty normal back then. Life moved a lot faster. Alright, little Benjamin, get out of here. Your age has 2 numbers now, so time to get a job and pay some taxes. He started working for his father and then for his brother, who owned a small print shop and ran a newspaper. That print shop became his university. He loved to read, and he would read anything that he could get his hands on. But books were luxuries back then, kind of like laptops today. Luxuries that he couldn't afford. So he improvised. Young Benjamin would sneak down into the bookshop at night, steal a book, read it until morning, and then quietly put it back so that no one noticed. That's not stealing, that's academic espionage. Soon Franklin developed a taste for writing, and he wanted his brother to publish his essays in his newspaper. His brother said no. So what did he do? He invented a character. A middle-aged widow that he named Mrs. Silence Dogood. This is just an image I found. I'm not sure if she's supposed to be middle-aged here, but if she is, damn, things were kind of rough in the 1700s. Yeah, 16-year-old Benjamin Franklin decided that the best way for him to get published was to pretend to be a lonely middle-aged widow. And it actually worked. As Mrs. Dogood, Franklin would write sharp, clever, and funny essays commenting on life in colonial America. In one letter, he roasted people who went to church only to show off their new clothes. He said that they fell asleep during the sermon, woke up during the singing, and went home no wiser than they came. Making fun of anything related to the church in Puritan America was bold. For a 16-year-old, that's kinda gangster. Mrs. Dogood's letters became so popular that male readers would write in, asking if she would marry them. Mrs. Dogood, your letters have so inflamed my heart and my loin. May I have your hand in marriage? Franklin would be like, I'm 16, dude. And a boy. Imagine being catfished in the 1700s. Bro. When his brother found out the truth, he was kind of upset, and so Franklin ran for it. Even at 16 years old, he wasn't afraid to go his own path, be independent, and take big risks. He left Boston and ended up in Philadelphia. After a quick detour to London, he came back to Philadelphia and started his own newspaper, the Pennsylvania Gazette. Oh, and by the way, Gazette isn't named that way because of the animal gazelle, which is kind of what I thought. It actually comes from a small, low-value Venetian coin called a gazzetta that was used to purchase an early form of newspapers in Venice. History lesson, you're welcome. Around this time, he founded the Junto, a club for mutual improvement. It was a place where like-minded thinkers could meet and discuss books, ideas, and public problems. It was basically a very, very productive group chat. Franklin was inspired by the conversations that he'd overheard at the coffee houses in London while he worked there, and he wanted to recreate something like this for himself back in Philadelphia. Franklin instinctively knew that while reading and writing and working on your own is great, you can learn just as much, if not more, from a good conversation. By now, Franklin was running a successful newspaper, and he made a name for himself, but he wasn't rich. He still couldn't afford the books he wanted, and there were no public libraries in America at this time. So, Franklin made a proposal to the Junto. Fellas, we all love books. What if we buy them together? And they did. This idea was so well received that Eventually, they became the biggest private book collection in Philadelphia, and the Junto eventually became the Library Company of Philadelphia, the first publicly accessible library in America. You did have to pay to be a member, but even if you weren't, you could loan a book against a deposit. Franklin understood something very early in life, that knowledge doesn't matter if it's private. So he built systems to spread it. He didn't want to be the smartest person in the room. He wanted better rooms for everybody. That is really cool. In his 20s, Franklin figured out that life is full of temptation and potential mistakes. It's hard not to mess up sometimes, and it's hard to know how to act in a certain situation. And if you do make a mistake, you're probably gonna go home with that mistake and think a bunch about it. All that thinking gets in the way of life, and it's better to just not do those mistakes in the first place. So, Franklin did the only logical thing. He built a very specific system for personal development based on 13 virtues. These were all designed to help him live a better life, and he didn't just think about them, he actually lived them. He created a journal which he would carry around with him, where he had a column for each day and a row for each virtue, and every time he messed up, he would make a mark. And he did this for a long time. Didn't help him become perfect, but in his own words, "I never arrived at perfection, but I was better and happier." All of this we've been talking about happened before he was even involved in the founding of America. Now, during the war, Franklin was not a soldier. He didn't fight on battlefields. He fought with paper instead. He helped draft and sign the Declaration of Independence, and then he went over to Français to Paris, where he acted as a diplomat. In France, Franklin leaned into his reputation as a rustic American philosopher. In a place where everyone was wearing the height of fashion, Franklin dressed in simple clothes, and that made him stand out. All in all, he just seems to have been a good dude to be around. He would charm the politicians, he charmed the intellectuals, the ladies of the court. Basically, he charmed everyone. And he was very successful in his mission too. The help he secured was crucial for America in their war for independence. Franklin basically won a war by being likable. That's cool. None of this was accidental. Franklin was a man who understood the power of reputation. He wrote public letters, published essays, and curated his image. 250 years before social media, Franklin built a personal brand. If he was alive today, he would be running a banger Twitter account. No hot takes, just wisdom and vibes. Now, Franklin wasn't perfect. Early in life, he owned slaves and even ran ads for them. For all his innovation and personal brilliance, he was still a man of his time. And history is messy. People are messy. Later in life, he seems to have changed his mind on slavery. He became an active abolitionist, he spoke publicly against slavery, and at the end of his life, he even spoke in front of Congress, asking them to end slavery. That doesn't erase his mistake, but I think it does show character. Realizing you're wrong and publicly changing your mind is admirable, and it's something that we could use more of. After the war, Franklin was part of the first government of the United States. And what role did he play in this government? He was Postmaster General, because of course he was. The guy who made a life and a career out of writing and reading, well, he was now in charge of the most important paper in the nation, making sure that America's mail would arrive on time. I mean, the guy was perfect for it. He loved paper, he loved systems, he loved networking. By the time he died at 84, Franklin had been a printer, a writer, an inventor, an ambassador, a founder, and a builder. Franklin didn't win by being the smartest person in the room. He won by building better rooms. And that's cool.